Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined today by elite hockey player Don Pizzette. Don, how are you today?
I am doing great. I got my Charlestown Chiefs jersey on because it's the holidays, trying to relax, have some fun.
It's not Halloween. That's not that holiday.
It's not that holiday, but it's cold. Well, it's cold other places.
It's
not
Florida
here.
cold.
Yeah,
we had some cold before.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as we wind down the year, we actually have some really good news articles because there's a lot of stuff happening this week for some strange reason. I guess people trying to get some work in right here before the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to covering that.
Oh, we're supposed to be getting work done this week still.
Some people, yes.
I thought we were already kind of checked out.
Go ahead and put that on your calendar.
Yeah, I will for next week. All right, we've got Daniel here as well. Daniel, how's it going?
Hey, just contemplating the availability and proliferation of scabies in Nevada for some strange reason.
Sure, yeah. Inside jokes go well.
I love leaving people with like, what the hell are they talking about?
I must not have listened to last week's episode. It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
All right, and we are joined today by our special guest. We have Emmanuel Iroanya from who's the founder of Theta. And welcome. Do I say Theta or Theta dot? We were just discussing.
No,
there's a period.
Theta's fine. Leave it at Theta.
I just say it like as it's the end of a sentence. I say he's joining us from Theta.
And that's how it should be.
And that's how it is. It's the end. It's the period.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Omega.
Yeah, thank you. It's the Alpha, the Omega. No, it's the Theta.
It's the Theta.
You can't have it both ways. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in with our first segment, get to know you a little bit more, Emmanuel, in our first segment, which is Rapid Fire Questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Emmanuel, in this segment, we are going to rapidly fire questions at you. You'll see a little timer appear on the right side of your screen. You'll have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you. And I feel like he's in the buzzing mood today, so be ready. We're going to rotate around through the host asking questions, and our first one is coming at you from Peter.
See, now I'm worried about how to ask this one, but can you give us an overview of Theta dot question mark? Did I do it right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did it perfectly. So Theta is a hub zone digital and management firm based in Baltimore, Maryland, trying to create a world where tech works for everybody. My firm, we take pride in being at the intersection of innovation and technology, but also intersection of technology and its impact on the world. And we think that our position at these unique intersections lets us solve unique problems and give unique solutions to very difficult problems. So, yeah, that is an overview of Theta. We are.
All right. Now, Emmanuel, I know you have a background as a system admin and an engineer. It's actually very similar to my background. And you've founded a company. So about 7 years ago, I co-founded a company called IT Pro TV. And I know why I did it, which is I was suckered into it by a friend. I'm curious why you did it. Like, why did you choose to go into business for yourself?
Oh, man. I don't know if let me try and put it into a tight minute. Honestly, I was tired of seeing services specifically in the government sector, but also in the commercial sector as well. Digital products and digital services being provided that didn't have everybody in mind, that didn't really speak to the aspects of, the needs of someone in where I am or in West Virginia or wherever you are in the world or wherever you are in this country specifically. It just really personally, I had some few experiences in the work field and also buying products. I don't want to name anything and get anybody in trouble, but there was one product that always sticks to mind that I bought this, I could clearly tell it wasn't meant for me or that I wasn't part of their use cases when they were testing this particular product. And seeing that in the commercial field, seeing it in the government field, I was like, well, this is a problem that someone needs to come and be cognizant of when they try to build software. And that's what made me start Theta.
Well, there's always a problem out there, and somebody out there is going to go, I'm going to fix this. Now, that being said, you describe yourself as a technologist and say that the industry lacks true representation of technologists or a representative of more diversity. Now, I obviously understand what that means, but I want to make sure that you understand what that means. And why don't you go ahead and describe what that means?
Well, interesting enough, and I forgot the 5 questions. So cool. The second question, literally can lead into the third question. And I'll say one of the products. building something that works for everybody, that's representative of everyone, means keeping everyone in mind when you're building your product. The product that came to my mind that I was speaking before was particularly, it sounds so childish when I say it, but it was my Xbox. It was my Xbox one I bought back in 2015. They were selling them with a lot of the biometric facial recognition software, the Kinect. And I remember buying this piece of hardware and trying to scan my face into the one of the games that was promising to be able to do that. And it just didn't recognize my skin tone, my beard, my glasses. It was a lot of struggles going on. And while I'm at this point, you know, a system engineer working in the financial tech sector, it's not a big deal to me. It sort of was still a big deal, because I thought about, like, all right, what about the 16-year-old kid that's working at Target, you know, saving their hourly rate to go buy this for themselves, you know, at home? They don't have the same type of access to funds to just, you know, piss away like that. So, you know, technologists that are really paying attention to what it means to build digital products in a digital world for everybody is what it means to have like a representative approach to being a technologist. And that's sort of what I mean when I'm really talking about it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've heard a lot of those about like products where, you know, people with accents can't talk to Alexa or things like that. So yeah, they're just.
So I specifically will talk with an accent around my Alexa, so it doesn't know what the hell I'm saying.
I practice my really crappy British accent with it.
Russian. Do a Russian accent, doesn't understand a thing.
If you don't want your voice assistant to recognize your voice, it's easy. You just use Siri.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't that what they made Cortana for?
That's right.
Exactly.
All right, so you seem to be really involved with the tech scene there in Baltimore. So I'm curious, is that kind of one of those new emerging scenes? We're seeing a lot of those in different places around the country. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Even just recently, I know like the mayor of Baltimore City just announced that they're about to put like $35 million of rescue funds into getting broadband just across all the dead spots in the city. You know, like that type of investment in internet and in tech is really going to make Baltimore City a hub for more tech companies, I believe. And so, yeah, no, it's definitely become one of those places. And I'm glad to be here as this city goes through its own tech renaissance.
Nice. And finally, your LinkedIn says that you are a superhero. And I'm curious what your superpowers are.
Okay, so it's really interesting, right? I won't get too nerdy, but I think that my superpower would probably be something that has to do with intangibility, because it's such a ambiguous power. But you know, intangibility is sort of like the aspect of like things that you can't really measure. You know, one of the things I always say is like, you know, my perseverance has allowed me, and my persistence allowed me to like take things on the chin, you know, take punches and not really, you know, let them bother me too much, and phase pass through me in my personal and professional life. So like that type of intangibility to be able to phase through, you know, the high and the darkness, and also at the same time be present when needed, I think is a superpower that has a lot of applications to my life. And so, yeah, I've thought about this a little bit. I don't know if you can tell or not.
It sounds like Batman, essentially. Like no actual power.
I was thinking Dr. Manhattan, but
for a little while, it sounded like his superpower was politics. He was like, you know, you can't describe it, you can't see it, you can't feel it. I'm like, oh, that's politics. That's
inside you. But it's funny because the superhero thing that was on LinkedIn, that was funny, but that wasn't even my favorite thing on your LinkedIn. It was like way down. I'm looking at, you know, your jobs, just kind of see your background. Like one of the first things you did like tech support for the Amazon Kindle, and that was like, I don't know, it was very short. It was like a couple months, because I'm sure you got there and were like, well, this product sucks. I'm surprised that wasn't your example.
You said it, not me.
I did. There's a reason they're $30 on Prime Day. And that is overpriced.
They're pretty crappy. Yeah,
all right, well, let's move on and find out. You know, you seem like a happy guy, but there are things that piss everybody off. So let's find out what grinds your gears.
You know what really grinds my gears? This Lindsay Lohan. You know what really grinds my gears? You, America.
We now go to Peter for You Know What Really Grinds My Gears.
All right, so this one confused me a little bit at first, and so I want your help understanding it because we talk a lot about in the tech world about how things are disposable now. Phones are made to break after a certain amount of time, but what grinds your gears is people building things to last and not to change. But I know you have an explanation that makes that make a little sense for us, so why don't you tell us?
Right. So, it's always one of those sentences that I say, or these phrases I say, people are like, huh? But what I really mean when I'm saying that is that, too often we're building things that are meant to last in the sense that they're building it for the moment. They're building it like, hey, this new framework or this new hot piece of tech is the bee's knees, and we're going to build something using that. And that's cool and all, but you're technically building something that's meant to last in that moment that isn't adaptable, isn't able to be used longer than this moment. And that's a problem because that's sort of bringing a lot of the churn that we're seeing rather than actual change in this field. Too often we're spending time churning, just trying to keep things alive because we made really, I won't say bad, but very interesting decisions at the genesis of projects that sort of keep you stuck in this moment. So when we say that, what we really mean is that we want things to be built as agnostically as possible. I'm a believer. I have a hoodie on right now, but I have like a Tux, the Linux Penguin tattooed on my bicep here. But I'm a believer in like the Unix philosophy. Like I take it very seriously. I do believe in like a software tools philosophy because I believe that if you're building really, software with the intention of doing very specific things really well and with scale and modularity in mind, I believe that you could build literally anything. And so what's grinding my gears is that people are building things like, hey, this really cool JavaScript framework is what I'm going to build and I'm going to throw it everywhere. And then, yeah, it's cool and all, but then once the rest of the world moves on, you're stuck with a framework and that no one else wants to support, and now you have a piece of software that's not helpful in the government space or even the commercial space where I'm expecting this thing to help you do your job or create policy or whatever that's going to help me as a constituent and the person that lives in this country. So that's really what I'm talking about. Build your software as agnostically as possible. If you're taking a more tools approach, what you'll do, at least I believe you'll do, is you'll end up building Lego blocks, or what I like to say, you end up building your own alphabet at that point. And at that point, if you have your whole alphabet of little tools, I can go write Shakespeare or whatever you want at that point. I can be, Aaron Sorkin. I can do literally whatever you want at that point. I can write whatever for entertainment, whatever piece of software, whatever idea you have, you can do that. But you can only do that when you're building software to change and not to last. So that's really what I'm stressing. It's always one of the things that when I say it, people are like, huh? And like, you get them conversing and you start like really breaking it down and really going into the weeds. And a lot of the products we build, our ideas that we have for solving computer problems start there.
Let me play devil's advocate on this one a little bit, though, because we see what you're describing, especially with programming languages and frameworks. That was 15, 20 years ago, everybody was like, oh, you need Ruby on Rails. It's the amazing new thing.
Oh my God.
Or you progress further, you get different languages. Everybody was in love with JavaScript. You had Node.js applications. Electron had its Flash. And now here everybody's talking about Rust and Go. And so those languages are changing pretty rapidly. And you're leaving behind all this technical debt, like you described, right? So that's all in line with what you're saying. But isn't part of that innovation, though? Like, people are just trying new things and trying to put that out. So if we don't do that, if we don't try new things, like how do we successfully innovate?
See, I love innovation. I believe that we should constantly be trying to innovate. But I have a saying that I say all the time to my friends is that the goal isn't to reinvent the wheel, it's to just change the materials that the wheel is being made out of. And so too often when I'm looking at some of these frameworks, I'm watching people build with some of these frameworks, literally the cloud in the cloud. And I'm like, what did you do by adding another abstraction layer or adding another layer to actually solving your problem? So I have no problem with innovation. Some of the things that we believe that we're working on are very innovative, but they're also being made with the intention that, hey, this is about as open, about as reusable, about as agnostic as possible. You brought up Go and Rust. Like, I'm betting on Go, but I mean, when you think about those two languages specifically, like Rust, that's about the only language you could think of that is even remotely competitive to replacing C. You know, C's been here for like 50 some odd years now. You outside of like Objective C and C++, and even those are just very specific hypervariants of C. You know, building something that was built to change like that at the end of the day, every other language is finding a way to compile back to do what you want to do makes sense. You know, that's what I mean. Like picking languages, picking frameworks that make sense, that are agnostic, that can be, that I can take all your old debt and still bring new things and bring constant iteration change. You can do that with a language like Go, for instance. Can't really do that if I'm stuck with a JavaScript framework in the back. It just depends on picking the right tool for the right situation. But part of that picking the right tool starts with understanding what you're trying to do and how far away from bare metal you have to get to actually do what you have to do anyway.
I think
that's sort of what everyone's forgetting.
We see it with hardware, especially. You know, I'm thinking of consumer examples too, just like regular technologies, televisions, right? Where you had this 20 or 30 year window between black and white televisions and color televisions. And then you had a 20 or 30 year window before going from standard color televisions to the 16:9 HD, right? The 720p never really caught on. So then it went to the 1080. And now we have 4K TVs, right? So that was a very short window of time, 10 years.
TVs, don't we?
Now they're pushing 8K TVs. I haven't even finished upgrading my existing TVs.
I haven't got to my 4K everywhere.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, is this reaching into what Emmanuel's talking about? Is if we had a television platform that was a little more open, now I can take that 4K guts out, put 8K guts in, and now I have an 8K TV.
Makes me think of your laptop, Don.
Right? Like the framework,
laptop.
Yeah. Don's got that framework laptop work. Because I was thinking at the beginning of this, well, this works for the software side, doesn't work for the hardware side, but that framework laptop, you know, has the modules you can pop out, and so you know they're able to still sell you new things because that's why they're doing this because we can sell you the latest greatest thing, but if they get you into their framework and then can sell the new processor that's faster, can sell the new type of USB drive that comes out or something, that's pretty cool. All right. Yeah. Well, that's a good conversation.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I can go for hours.
We could spend a whole episode. But we do want to talk about, I know you got something new that you guys have been working on, an IoT and data collection tool called BrickFrog, which, I mean, I just want to know why it's named that, but can you tell us a little bit about BrickFrog?
So Project BrickFrog it's an edge collection platform that we're building, and we ended up building specifically with helping change energy culture in mind originally. But the novelty in the tool that we're building is that it's an edge collection platform that is sort of plug and play, that any IoT device, any edge device, any data or anything you want to collect, any information you want to collect off that device can be collected and sent to a back end that you want to do any type of data analysis on or doing understand. So that's why I was like, kind of my conversation was going towards the edge and talking about hardware, specifically that's where we're playing with those are type of like software and pretty much computing problems in general we're trying to deal with is a fact that we believe that we're moving closer to the edge every year. The cloud has hit peak cloud, and so we're focusing there. And so Project BrickFrog is a product that we specifically built to say, hey, if I'm a landlord, I think the landlord we had in mind at the time was GSA with all their buildings. But if you have, all these buildings in mind and you have to worry about, how am I using energy efficiently, or, can I move energy, my usage here or there, or which floors are doing, like being able to have insight in your usage and in your actual carbon and energy footprint was just an interesting idea. So we said, how can we get there? Well, first we need to be able to read information at the edge. And then from there, we can start putting together building blocks of how to, give you information about how you're using energy in this building here.
Building blocks, Made out of frogs.
Made out of little frogs.
Yes. Makes sense.
And
Go forth, little frog.
That will reduce your carbon footprint as well if we build homes out of deceased frogs.
Well, or we can get the frogs like kinetic energy from jumping to that could create electricity. We're problem solving right here.
Renewable.
Yeah, it's renewable.
Right here. Right. And that's very renewable.
And I'll tell you right now, you just get one good rainstorm, them frogs will make new frogs real quick.
Disgusting.
So I don't know if you guys watch animated cartoons, but Adventure Bros is where there's a character on there called BrickFrog. All he does is he has one power. He takes a frog and he can throw it. That's it. It's just one very simple, silly power. And my CTO and I, we love animated cartoons. We love cartoons. Rick and Morty.
How did you not pick that as your superpower?
because I have a little bit of politics.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, I was.
Well,
But
if people want to find out more about that or any of the things we've talked about, theta-llc.com is that website. So head over there and check it out. There's a lot of great information. I was looking at the blog a little bit earlier, and a lot of cool stuff on there as well. So, hey, Emmanuel, we really want to thank you for taking the time today and chatting with us and helping us talk about some things we hadn't really talked about before.
No, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to speak with me, and thanks so much for having me.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and look at the news from this week. That's coming up on Technado with Don Pizzette right after this.
IT pros who want to learn on the go? The IT Pro TV Android app is for you. Now it's better than ever with the dashboard view built in. Easily resume viewing, see new courses as they're added, and track your hours viewed. Start up your next episode with the touch of a button to binge watch on the go. Track your progress at a glance, and download episodes as an annual member for offline viewing. Access all IT Pro TV courses with a simple button. Choose landscape mode for larger viewing. Choose your course by category, certification, or job role. Watch anywhere and pick up later on your favorite devices. So head to the App Store and download the IT Pro TV app.
Welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette, and thank you so much to Emmanuel for joining us from Theta. From Theta. Has to be the end of the sentence.
You just use your finger and just point.
Yeah, Theta.
Theta.
But we do have a lot of news to get to. I'm excited because we haven't had a tinfoil hat segment in a while, and we've got one today. We've got someone getting pwned. We've got Doe. We've got behind Bart. Well, all the good stuff. But we're starting today with news out of the AWS reInvent conference, which we're reading this on a day where the East region is down.
Is it really? Yeah, US East 1.
Yeah.
It's not still down, is it?
Dude, I
don't know.
I got a server in US East. I gotta.
Yeah, I was having.
Check that.
I did have a question about that actually. Before we just dive into this, isn't the whole point of cloud computing the redundancy that East went down, so
only if you
this will fire
set that
but
up, though.
if you are people putting all their stuff.
Yes.
Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose?
When you log into AWS and you've accessed that console the very first time, if you're here in the United States, it defaults to US East 1. And so
That's
if you
not
just start,
true.
What?
I logged in the other day and it defaulted me to US West, and I'm like, why is this running so slow?
Maybe because East 1 was down.
Maybe because it was. Yeah.
There's no US East.
No, because I had to go back and I was like, oh, it's set to Oregon. It needs to be in Virginia,
Okay.
so I
All
set
right.
it to Virginia, and I was US East, a great instances.
Well, let me backtrack then. For a long time, it was that it defaulted US East 1. Point is, it defaults to something, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't change that, all of your resources get created in one region. And there might be more than one zone in that region, but everything's going in one region. And so, like you said first, Daniel, you got to build it, right? If you build a multi-region deployment, these types of outages don't affect you. You're perfectly fine. It's not realistic to expect one region to stay online 100% of the time. So you're supposed to build the availability in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people don't.
No, they do not.
Because it's hard.
There is that, and it can cost you money, right?
Yep.
So depending on if you set it up incorrectly, you can all of a sudden be like, whoa, this scaled up big time, and I don't have the funds.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk more about AWS outage when we know what happened, which we probably will by next week. But maybe it's because they were all busy doing this other stuff. So our first article is from their own blog. It says, use new Amazon EC2 M1 Mac instances to build and test apps for iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and Apple TV. So basically they've got like bare metal M1s that you can log on to and play with?
Yes, and we shouldn't say bare metal, though, because in this case, they are virtualized running on top of actual Macs, though.
I did see the AMIs when, like, yesterday I was creating an instance. I was like,
yeah?
Oh, yeah, look at that. There's those Mac ones.
You know, last year they announced the ARM AMIs, so you can do ARM VMs if you want. And they introduced Mac ones last year, but they were still Intel-based Mac. And it has to run on Mac hardware regardless because of Apple's software licensing policy. So that's what's always made this kind of challenging. Well, the M1s, they just came out last year, and AWS has been pretty fast to respond. So we now have M1 instances. If you are an app developer trying to compile things in Xcode, you have to do that on a Mac in order to submit to an app store. Here's a chance for you to do it without actually paying the Mac premium.
It's kind of nice. AWS bringing it home.
Pretty cool stuff.
Trying to give you options.
I like it. And the other big news that came out of there, by the way, bare metal, I just said that not because that's what I thought, but I just wanted to show that I knew that word. I don't know what it means.
But you didn't know the word. You just knew that that is a term.
Right, exactly.
Not what the meaning of the term.
Does that data lake happen in the
Can you swim
bucket?
in that data lake?
In the S1 bucket or something?
The S1 bucket.
Is that a thing? Those are things.
S3.
Damn it. All right. Well, close enough. That's the new. Well, they announced S1.
Yeah,
that's the new.
How about that? Oh, they just took it down. You can't look it up.
Damn it.
That's what took down USC. All right. The next one is announcing preview of AWS private 5G, which. What is that?
Now, this sounded interesting, Don, because when I heard this, I was like, hold on. Can I spin up my own cellular network and then not have to share it with everybody?
There's a lot of infrastructure that goes into building a 5G network. I've seen the commercials.
Yeah.
So the short answer to Daniel's question is basically yes. So Amazon has invested in a 5G network across the United States. Now, when I say they've invested in it, they haven't put up their own antennas yet, although they're talking about it. Yeah. They have been licensing bandwidth and space from the various carriers that are out there. They're also working on that crazy balloon internet and things they're all tapped into the 5G technology. So for most of us, the idea of creating a network like that is way outside of our reach. But Amazon has found a way to subdivide up their network to where you can actually basically allocate it like an AWS service. You can go and create your own private 5G cellular network and use that for data transfers and connectivity and stuff anywhere that they've got an antenna that they have under contract. So kind of neat that you can spin that up. Now, I kind of looked at this from two angles. Like you said, Daniel, one, it's really cool technology. Yeah. Like, I could have my own. If I create an IoT device that I don't want it to have internet access, but I need it to communicate back to a central place. Like maybe I want to have an atomic time clock or something, right? I don't want that to have internet access, but I do want it to phone home to get accurate time. I could create my own 5G network on top of AWS with a couple of clicks of a mouse, and now I can deploy those IoT devices and connect up and not have to get SIM cards for everyone. You're issuing your own SIM cards at that point. Yeah. But the second thing I thought was all the 5G conspiracy theories. Like how much easier will it be for us to mind control people and,
my test bed of rats has been so much easier since I got my 5G tower from AWS.
Yeah.
I will say they listen so much better, and I don't lose connectivity on the fringe of my network as they destroy people's homes and steal their children.
And now that your tests are done, you can allocate coverage all across the United States with a click of a button and push that out.
Now, let's play devil's advocate here, right? This is obviously really cool. I've decided, I want to have control over my own mobile network. So when I looked into this, they were like, hey, okay, step one, you sign up for this thing, you pick your network coverage or whatever you need, and then they start sending you towers, like mini towers and antennas. Oh yeah, there's antennas, like physical hardware that has to be deployed, and then you start allocating this thing and building this network. That said, why wouldn't I just get SIM cards and use something like VPN if I needed to do those things on already built infrastructure? Is it cheaper, or what's the advantage?
So it is a bit cheaper. You control the
everything
area, the region. You pick where this is being deployed and where it's available. So you've got some control there. You don't have to deal with the FCC at all.
Oh,
because Amazon's already done that. You're using something Amazon already has allocated, so that's a big benefit. And if you've ever looked at what Verizon or AT&T charges for this kind of stuff,
it's big money.
It is through the roof, and you've got long contracts. AWS has always been about, you
when you
pay
need
for
us,
what
we're
you use.
here. Yeah.
So there's a lot of advantages to it.
I like it.
I'm in.
He's buying right now.
I know.
Is there Prime delivery on that antenna?
Later. All right. Well, let's move on to our next article, which is from one of our.
It was a good
segments.
segue. Buy now, pay later.
That's what it's doing. Yeah. But now you ruined it.
No. I think I made it better.
Dough.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so, do.
All right, this one comes to us from theregister.com. Microsoft adds buy now, pay later financing option to Edge, and everyone hates it. Is it because it's Edge?
No, so it is the whole buy now, pay later thing, right? Which is almost the equivalent of payday advance loans, right? When you're driving down the street and you see one of those paycheck advance places, do you think, boy, that looks like a reputable business helping the community?
You mean Wednesday night?
you see those and you think, wow, there's somebody preying on people that are unprivileged, or you're tight on money. You go and you do a paycheck advance and they charge you 20% interest or something ridiculous like that. So to see a company like Microsoft do it is kind of shocking. And I didn't have time to look up what episode it was, but last year we did an episode on the Opera web browser. Opera was sold to I believe it was like a Chinese investment company, and ever since they got it, they have turned Opera into like the seediest, sleaziest web browser possible. They do paycheck advance loans in the browser. In the browser, yeah. Like you don't browse to a page; it's built into the browser.
It's like an add-in.
It can mine Bitcoin in the background, not for you, but for other people. Like it has a ton of things that.
Botnet, yeah.
And so we reported on that, and I talked about how sleazy that was to do, and it really had no place being in a browser, and that's why the former founder of Opera split off and created. Oh shoot, what's his browser called? Not DaVinci. It's something like that, though. It's music. Vivaldi. There we go.
Vivaldi.
So created the Vivaldi browser. Well, Microsoft, a company that is always neck and neck with Apple for being like the most valuable company in the world, obviously not hurting for cash, launching a buy now, pay later service like this, integrated into the browser, has made a lot of people just flip the bird at Edge and say, well, I'll go back to Chrome.
I didn't have to flip the bird Edge because I don't use it.
You never went there.
No. A lot of people already flipped that bird. But now double birds for Edge.
2 birds.
You know, in the last year, just in the last 12 months, Microsoft has done wonders for, like, they ditched the Internet Explorer name, they brought in Edge, they adopted the Chrome engine. Edge is actually a really good browser right now. And it's almost like they're ready to squander what they've gained in the last 12 months with things like this and that seedy business with changing your default web browser and pushing Bing on you every time Edge updates.
Did the Edge project get a new manager where it was like, I'm going to make a name for myself, and everybody's like, please stop
all the time. So
please stop, sir. Stop. Don't do that. No. What we need is a buy now, pay later thing built into the browser. It's going to be awesome. Blow your mind. And they're like, no, it won't blow your mind. Shut up, ship it.
Yeah. No credit, bad credit.
Yeah.
Edge. Well, that's what they need to do is remove the word Microsoft from the product name, probably, because you're right. If it's a good product, but people are so, they associate it with Internet Explorer, they associate it with the problems that you mentioned with Edge. But if they've changed all that, I don't know, rebrand it again, but get Microsoft out of it.
I mean, I had switched to Chrome for many years, and I actually did switch back to Edge mostly last year when I'm on a Windows machine, not when I'm on other systems. But
I hate that you have to type HTTP in this thinking Edge browser. Yeah, you do.
I know.
So I do a lot of things you guys don't do, though.
Apparently so.
Right?
That's user error.
Like when I'm running things like my own web server, I can't just type an IP address. It goes, Bing cannot find that. I'm like, no shit. It's not there. You're supposed to add HTTP. I'm not Bing searching this. I want you to add that. And it doesn't do it by default. And I have to type it in. And it's a real pain in the butt. Firefox does not do that to me.
Oh, you're on Firefox.
Yeah, I still run Firefox. I got to remember,
weirdo.
In hacking world, Firefox is the preferred browser because of the things you can do with it.
But you're a Brave guy.
I like using Brave for normal browsing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Firefox is good if you don't, care about speed.
I don't at all. I care about being able to hack
things to render correctly.
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of the point for you, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. I mentioned we've got some tinfoil hat time, and it is about that time. So let's go ahead and get those hats on.
The moon landing was fake. Paul McCartney's been dead since 1966.
Dogs can't see color.
5G causes syphilis.
Do you understand that?
Yeah. All right. This comes to us from therecord.media. A mysterious threat actor is running hundreds of malicious Tor relays. So I know we've talked about Tor before and Tor sites. What is a Tor relay to start?
All right, so Tor is an entirely volunteer network. So people volunteer, contribute machines to build up the infrastructure. And there's really 3 main roles that a node will play when it's in Tor. So you've got your entry nodes, which are the systems you connect to from the internet. There's exit nodes, which is where once you're anonymized, you exit Tor to access the real internet. And then there's relay nodes that sit in between because you're not allowed to go directly from an entry to an exit node. You have to pass through
3, I think.
It's 3 to get in and 3 to get out, right? So it's 6 total.
Is that it?
I believe it's 6
so
total.
This is when on CSI they're going, hold on, I've bounced it off Belarus and Cambodia.
Well, you can do that with Tor, and Tor will do that, but in those shows it's like those were compromised systems that they're bouncing through. Okay.
So, that's the way that Tor works. And these are all volunteer machines. In theory, the traffic is fully encrypted. And so all these nodes that are sitting along the path can't interpret the traffic at all, and so it passes over nice and secure. Where the challenge bumps into, though, is the entry node is who you're encrypting your data and sending to. The entry node doesn't know the keys, or doesn't even know the exit node, really, because you have to pass through these relays to get over to the exit node. So the entry node doesn't know the exit node doesn't know the entry node, so that in theory, you are completely untrackable when you're in the Onion router. When you're in there, you're safe. Well, a few years ago, I'm trying to remember if you were with me, Peter, when we were at RSA. I was talking with Joshua Pitts from Okta, and he had told me back then, and I mean, this was probably 3 years ago, he said, you got to watch out on Tor. We've seen nation states injecting, like looking for file transfers over Tor and injecting data into the file transfers in real time, like really sophisticated stuff. This was years ago. Well, now evidence is coming out that is a real thing, that this is certainly possible. A threat actor, they don't know who it is.
So we don't know if it's a nation state at this point.
Right. It could just be Daniel.
But when we're talking about the resources that this person has,
they have had up to 900 simultaneously running Tor relays at a given point. So this is a lot of resources. It is almost guaranteed to be a nation state because it is them gaining visibility into Tor.
It's an eccentric billionaire. Everybody knows this.
Well, it could be.
To give some context to that number, though, Don, it says that typically there are about 9,000 to 10,000, what you call them, nodes. And so we're saying 10% of those are run by this one person entity.
And it fluctuates, right? Because they're not authenticating themselves. Like when you register a node with Tor, you have to provide some basic identification information, or they don't let you do it. But it's not always checked, and so they're abusing that part where it's not always checked to get as many in. So they've had up to 900, but sometimes it's much lower. I think at the time this article was written, they said there were about 128 or something like that. So it goes back and forth. But if they can basically take over your entry and your exit node, all of your security on Tor is now gone. Now they know exactly where you were going, where you came from, the data you were transmitting, because the encryption's been totally peeled off at that point.
You're now de-anonymized.
Yeah, and I don't do math, but if someone owns 10% of those nodes, I mean, the chances of them getting the entry and the exit are pretty good. Well, not pretty good, but decent.
Pretty, I would say low enough on them getting the entry and the exit, but at least getting one along the way would still reveal a lot of information about yourself. They'd be able to start building fingerprints for identifying you in the future.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are nations out there that do not allow you to just go wherever you like onto the interwebs, and if they find out you're doing that, this might be a way to unveil whether or not that you're
Tor is
engaging
popular in those places.
I believe it's in Iran that even connecting to Tor at all is illegal.
Is illegal?
Yeah. Yep. So any kind of anonymization or VPN, if you're caught using it, doesn't matter what you're using it for, but if you're caught using it, it is illegal. Yeah.
And so it says they've ruled out academic research. Is that?
I wonder how they did that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I don't think it's academic research, but how do you rule that out?
In the article was that they had used early in this discovery, right, that some of the earlier nodes that they had set up, they did use an email and it wasn't obfuscated in any way, and they reused it to bring up later additions. So they're kind of tracing the history of the thing. And from that, they were able to discover that the person that's been using that email is very vocal about using Tor and as anti-Tor, and they're trying to bring the Tor down. This was what the article was kind of alluding to.
All right.
So
it could be
more of a hacktivist,
eccentric billionaire.
I was going to say, that's a lot of money, because we're talking, these are not virtual machines that you can set up, right? I mean, these are...
Yeah. What was the guy who brought down Gawker? What was his name?
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan's friend, the one who financed the lawsuit.
Bubba the Love Sponge?
Bubba the Love Sponge.
No, I don't think they're friends anymore. But
not anymore.
But there was the guy, I can't remember his name, but he was a billionaire, and he was upset, and he wanted to...
Is it the PayPal guy, Thies?
I don't know.
It's John McAfee.
But so he bankrolled that lawsuit and all to kind of target that company. So I could see if you were a motivated billionaire and you wanted to target something like Tor, this would be one way to do it.
It would be one way to do it.
Yeah, Peter Thiel.
That's it. Yes. Yep.
It was PayPal, right? Yeah, co-founder of PayPal, and the Founders Fund, which sounds made up. Interesting.
I co-founded a company. It's called The Co-Founders.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like George Costanza's the Human Fund. Money for people. All right. Sticking with our fun themes today, our next one is a segment as well. We're going to find out who it is that got pwned. And dang it, where's that button? It's one of these.
Peter.
Peter
got
Is it me?
I think it's on the iPad. That's where the button is.
Okay, hold on. No, it's not that. It's not that. Seriously, have we not done Who Got Pwned in a long time?
Yeah.
No, we do it practically every week.
Yeah. Right. We literally could just make a Who Got Pwned podcast.
Yeah. Son of a... All right, well, I'll play the tinfoil hat one again.
The moon landing was fake.
Why not?
Paul McCartney's been dead since 1966.
Maybe that's the conspiracy.
5G causes syphilis.
Do you understand that?
My Who Got Pwned is gone. Oh, there it is.
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
We can edit this in post. We're not going to, but we could. All right. This one is from ArsTechnica.com. Ransomware attack on Planned Parenthood steals data of 400,000 patients. Hackers had access to Planned Parenthood's Los Angeles chapter for 8 days. I was going to say it didn't sound like national if it was 400,000, but that's probably one of the bigger ones out in LA. Do we know how they got in?
We do not. Well, so what they're putting out right now is that it seems to be ransomware.
Yeah.
That a ransomware infection happened and files were exfiltrated, and they don't really have a good handle on what was exfiltrated. And the reason I wanted to highlight this one, because like you said, Daniel, somebody gets pwned every single day, it seems, and so it's not shocking that something like this happens. But in this case, we're talking about some of the most sensitive information possible. Planned Parenthood is a nonprofit organization here in the United States. Some people agree with what they're doing, their mission and purpose. Some people disagree with their mission and purpose. So it's a bit of a controversial organization, but they are mostly funded by donations and government dollars. So they are a subsidized industry. But that means they don't have a ton of money, and so they don't necessarily have the best of network security. But what they do have is some of the most sensitive medical records on the planet because they are a major abortion provider as well as birth control and other things. So they put out a press release and a notification to people that might be affected stating that on November 4th, they identified files that contained your name and one or more of the following information: address, insurance information, date of birth, and clinical information such as diagnosis, procedure, and or prescription information.
Yeah.
It's a worst case scenario.
So, this is like the worst Who Got Pwned.
Well,
they know everything.
It's blackmail material.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could very much make these people targets for, you know.
And you do say
violence
that the organization itself, or at least that local chapter of it, might not have a lot of money. But as a salesman once told me, I don't care what your budget is, I want it all.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have over 400,000 patients, which is
that
not,
seems like a bit.
We're not talking about the hundreds of millions in the Equifax breach, right? But because we're talking about medical procedures of a controversial nature, this is definitely blackmail material. So this is really bad.
You think maybe they're looking for specific people that might have frequented that establishment?
Maybe I'm being naive here, but I feel like a lot of these ransomware attacks are just spray and pray, right? They don't know who they're going to hit.
Agree. Yeah.
And when they hit something like a hospital to them, that's
just,
a gold mine.
Like seeing dollar signs.
And so they exfiltrate a little data or a lot, who knows, just enough to be able to say that they did it, because then they can leverage that to get money. And I'm kind of surprised we're hearing about this, because I could totally see an organization like them paying the ransom just immediately to try and make it go away.
Would they pay it, or would technically the government and donors be paying?
Well, and I guess that's it. Like they don't. Maybe that's why they can't.
Yeah.
Oh, they have to report possibly because of their funding status.
Yeah.
I mean, your head initially says hacktivism. You know, this is someone after, like I said, you know, someone specific, or you know, I don't like the agenda of this organization, so I'm going to go after them. But you're probably right, Don, that it is just, hey, I hit one. What is this one? Oh, it's Planned Parenthood. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to get that money from them then.
Yeah.
And for every one of those, there's like 15. Oh, this is Ethel
Used
in
Tires.
Sunset Retirement Community, Florida. Yeah,
you got 12 customers.
And with something that's publicly funded like that, you can look and say, hey, you got this much in money last year, so I would like this much, and don't tell me you don't have it because I can see it.
And they are doing that. Like, remember, I don't remember. It was earlier this year we reported on where some of the ransomware gangs, once they compromised a company, they would pull up the stock information and short sell the stock.
Oh my gosh!
And then leak to the news.
Yeah.
They would leak to the news that this happened, so that the stock would go down and they'd make money.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, how dare people take our stock exchange that is built on integrity and use it
and just trust
for that?
Yeah.
It's horrible. All right. Well, we'll be interested to see if more comes out about exactly what happened there or any other ramifications that happen as a result of that one. We will keep an eye on. All right. Our next article is Behind Bars, and I spent half of the last segment looking for the intro for that one because we haven't done that in a while. So here it is.
Break the law, and you'll go to jail.
Unless you're rich.
Honestly. Yeah, I assumed that went without saying. I didn't put that in the intro.
Throwing that disclaimer on there.
All right, this one comes to us right from justice.gov. So this is the official website for the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York. Former employee of technology company charged with stealing confidential data and extorting company for ransom while posing as anonymous attacker. And I want to know, Don, how did you find me?
Yeah. Well, so this actually ties into a news article we reported on over the summer, kind of looking back. I guess this could have been a Deja news in a way, but in this announcement, they withheld the name of the company, but it's kind of public knowledge. It's Ubiquity.
Oh, really?
So Ubiquity
Like
Networks.
the routers.
Yeah, the wireless,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. So they're based out of Oregon or somewhere in the Northwest, and they had a breach where source code and other information was exfiltrated from the company. And at the time, they were just saying little bits of information about it. They were saying, well, we don't think any customers were compromised, or that code was old code, and things like that. And an anonymous tipster, an insider, a whistleblower, came out and said, oh no, this is Armageddon. This is like the worst case scenario. All the private keys are out. They are screwed. Get away from Ubiquity, right? And so when we reported on it back then, I think at least I said, this might be worse than we think, right? That Ubiquity might be withholding information, and so we just need to keep an eye on it. Well, I have kept an eye on it, and now we find out what's going on. And it turns out Ubiquity was not being the bad guy that they were kind of portrayed. They were withholding information because they were working with the Department of Justice, because that whistleblower was not an honest-to-God whistleblower. So what we find in the Department of Justice's statement here, their release, is that it turns out it was a disgruntled insider employee. He was an employee that had trusted access to the source code and information.
Every time.
He was an engineer.
Yep.
And he stole the information that he had access to, and then, pretending to be an outside hacker, then approached Ubiquity and said, I want $2 million or I'm going to release this source code. And so it looked like a breach. It looked like the data was
They're
exfiltrated.
looking going, how did someone get in? We still don't see them in the system.
But it was this employee.
Yeah.
And then when they weren't paying, he then created a third identity, which was the whistleblower, and said, oh, no, this is really bad. You're trying to get the company to pay the $2 million. Well, the government, I believe it was the FBI, was able to actually unravel a lot of this mystery, figure out what was going on, and he has now been arrested. So this turned out to be an inside job, and just one actor, not multiple.
You know, it's funny when we're teaching security concepts at IT Pro TV and stuff that you always get to that idea of what type of threat actors are out there. And when you hit on those insiders, you're like, this is the real danger right here, because they already have a certain level of trust.
Yeah, because you gave them the key.
Yeah, you trust them to not do bad things. And sometimes that can be betrayed. And when it does, it's like the walls are falling down around you.
Well, the key is to not give access to the disgruntled employees.
The key is to not disgruntle your employees that have access to these things.
You just have to ask them before you give
I mean,
them
historically, think about it. People get mad and they knee-jerk reaction and do something dumb, and now it's already done. You can't walk it back.
Yeah.
It happens. So, if you start seeing people that aren't happy in their jobs, hey, what's up there, buddy?
And sometimes,
how can we make it better?
Sometimes you write a script to shave like a percentage of a penny off of something, and you do it wrong,
Right.
and you move the decimal point, and all of a sudden there's $200,000 in your account.
I always miss some mundane detail like that.
Oh, man.
I've heard of people like getting ticked off and throwing up the double birds and storming out the door, right? Like I can understand that, but trying to blackmail the company,
$2 million.
Yeah, that's a next level. I think that's a little more than just, this employee needed a hug.
Yeah, no doubt.
What happened to Bob in finance? He retired yesterday.
You know what it was? Is he had always been like, man, if I could just get $2 million, I'd be sweet. It'd be great. And now they're pissing me off. You know what I can do? They got $2 million.
They got $2 million bucks. Yeah,
I'm gonna get it from them. Right.
Yeah.
That's how these things happen. It's like just a storm of bad decision making, and
that's what.
Well, it says that after the announcement, their valuation fell by 20%, which amounted to about $4 billion in market
Did you
cap.
say billion with a B?
Billion with a B.
Man, they should have paid that
Should have paid that $2 million.
bucks.
Yeah.
So
Should have given all employees $2 million and still been better off. You know what? No one's gruntled anymore.
Yeah. Or every now and then, if you got a big enough company, just really bonus the piss out of your employees. Be like, we love y'all. Just here's a love package for everybody of a few $100,000. And everybody's like, damn, this is a great place to work. I don't want to mess this gig up.
I just looked it up to confirm, and gruntled, the definition is pleased, satisfied, or contented. Have you ever heard anyone say, like, man, I'm so gruntled today?
My daughter used to say, and she still does because I encourage it now, but she would say, yesternight. Right?
Yesternight.
And everybody's
Instead
like,
of yesterday.
it's not yesternight, it's yesterday. That is a legit term that used to get used.
Really?
And we just stopped using it.
From yesterday? Is
Right? Yesterday and yesternight were like...
She's the only kid talking about like Fortnites and stuff in school. They're not the games. Like, no.
Well, she just thought if yesterday is during
smart.
the day, yesternight must be last night.
It turns out she was right.
And she was absolutely right.
I've never heard that either.
Yeah. Stinking 5-year-old figuring things out that I never knew.
Well, Don, are we getting $2 million checks for the whole company? Or we're not?
Because I got trust inside this network.
Nah,
I don't think we have $4 billion to lose.
Yeah, no.
Either as a company yet. So.
Yeah, and I don't care if you guys are just going to...
Yeah, piss on you.
You're like, I got that locked down.
I was going to say, we know.
Here's your, what is it, the Jelly of the Month?
Yeah, Jelly of the Month Club. Yeah.
Oh, man.
This wasn't the biggest spend you ever did.
An RV is going to pull into your front yard this Christmas. All right, want to let you know about a couple things coming up. We've got a webinar today, the most in-demand IT jobs for 2022. It's only 2021, and we already know what those are.
Cashier.
Cashier, yeah. It's all on iPads now. So.
Factual.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, so we'll be looking out for that. And that is with Bridget from our ACI Learning family here, and also with Ronnie Wong. That's taking place today, Thursday, December 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening to this after the fact, don't worry. Still head to itpro.tv/webinars, and you can register to see the archive version of that, which will be out right afterwards. So be sure to check that out. Also want to let you know it's the 12 Days of IT wrapping up this week. On Friday, December 10th, we're going to give away all of the items that we have unboxed so far, which have been some pretty awesome stuff. Yesterday, we had the OMG cable that Daniel is scaring the crap out of people with here.
Y'all are charging your phones, right?
Had to put it under lock and key here. We've got a Stream Decks. We've got a Razer mouse. The Raspberry embedded in the keyboard has been a big hit on YouTube. Rubik's Cube. I got a guy that comments every day. I commented first. You should pick me. We're like, it's a random choice. But
and then you wink at him like,
ding. Yeah, for $2 million.
Yeah. You could buy a whole warehouse full of these things.
Well, if you want to win, head over to itpro.tv/12 days, and you can check all of those prizes out. You can also register for that as well. All right, and also take a moment and head over to Technado.com. You can see all the latest episodes, and you can subscribe there, and you can send us your feedback and things, but you can also hit the big orange button in the corner that says sponsored by IT Pro TV, and you can get a 30% off coupon code for the lifetime of your personal membership. You can also request a team trial and see all the great features available to teams from IT Pro TV. And this is important, Don. I can't believe I waited this long. But we had 2-3 months ago, we asked for some Yo Mama jokes for Don.
Do we have some?
For Don's mama.
And some really good ones
And
came
we got
in.
the best ones I've seen yet. And I like all of them. I like them all for different reasons. So let's just go down. This is from Rusty. Rusty S. Sent this stuff in. And so we're going to send you a shirt, Rusty, for sure, and a sticker pack from Technado. But the first one is... Don's mama is so fat, Schrodinger found her to be both inside and outside the box.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That's
it was
a good one.
It's a real
cerebral
thinker.
joke.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
a
real
good
thinker.
one. That's a good one.
How fat is she really? And then this one's like a good tech one. Don's mama is so fat, he took a picture of her and had to reformat his SD card to NTFS because it was over 4 gigs. I feel like there was like
that is techie as hell right there.
Yeah, I feel like what's the other form? Is like a fat? Isn't there?
32.
Yeah, like I feel like there's some way you could have worked the word fat in there.
Too fat for that.
Yeah. Well, you needed the larger file size, you see, of the anti. Oh.
Yeah. I just feel like we could have worked that word in somehow.
Gotcha.
And then Don's mama is so fat that THX can't even surround her. It's the surround sound, THX. So.
Oh, is it funnier now that Peter explained it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
millennials are going THX. See, but when I did it, it was funny.
Yeah, he explained what
because you're not
TFS was.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, those are fantastic, and just because we asked for them a couple months ago doesn't mean we will not accept jokes about Don's mother.
We are all about
time.
Rewarding comedic performance.
Yeah. Absolutely. If we make us laugh, if you make us laugh, we're all about it.
Thank you, Rusty. Yeah. You are our hero. And thank
Rusty
you,
Shackelford.
Yeah. Wait, that is who it is.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's a fake name, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but we've got a real email. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I knew I recognized it. Yeah, we've got a real email to send this T-shirt to, but
good.
I hope that's real. It's Don's mom at Gmail. Wait, hold on.
Don's mom at Gmail.
No, I'll double check if that's right. But yeah, thank you.
It's
Rusty.
not a Gmail. It's a Yahoo, I think. It's a Don's mom at Yahoo.
AOL.
AOL. She's still on there.
So
CompuServe. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week right here in Technado with Don Pizzette.